WolfPunch.
Karas.
Well, loud. Kemp, you always try a joke.
Every time.
Yep. One of these days.
Maybe give up.
Nah, it's not me. That ain't Kemp.
Oh my god. So Michael Kemp is here.
Michael Kemp is here, and
Michael
so
Kemp
are the
is
rest
here.
of us. Maybe we should... We're WolfPunch, but maybe today we should just have Michael Kemp just talk the whole
Oh
time.
god, no, that'd be awful.
Yeah, tell us what you thought, man.
Yeah.
Unfiltered, no interruptions.
Well, let's introduce it. We're Michael Kemp, mainly, and then also Kyle,
Yep.
me, Yezin, and Dan.
Hi.
But mainly Kemp.
Not mainly Kemp.
Mainly Kemp. Kemp, what did you think of last night's Game of Thrones? The bells.
Give us the Kemp
There's
cast.
a lot of feelings that were happening during the episode last night.
Yeah, emotions were high.
Yeah. I want to like it. I want to like the show so bad.
You do want to like
And
it.
it's funny because watching the episode, I keep just thinking oh, it's not like old Game of Thrones, but then the natural progression of the show, it should get bigger and more they have a bigger budget. Because I don't know, I like a lot of different things. I like big action movies. I like more introspective things. And this is kind of combining them, but it does not what I want, I guess. They're not giving me what I want in Game of Thrones.
No.
But I don't know what I want, so I can't really talk. That's where I'm at.
That's fair.
I can't really convey what I want, but I know what they're giving me, isn't it?
We'll use that as the quote of the week. I don't really know what I want, but I know what they're giving me. Kyle?
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care?
You're dead inside.
I mean,
You are very...
there's one episode left.
You used to be so passionate about this show.
I used to care a lot. Now I don't. The episode was dumb and it made everyone look bad, but it was fun. I didn't hate it.
It was fun.
I had a
That's
lot
the
of
thing.
laughs.
I can't
that last
I don't think the episode made everyone look bad.
Who looked good?
Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion.
Yeah.
Varys actually
Jon
looked pretty
Snow
good.
looked real good. I actually liked him.
You just think he's a dreamboat, Michael.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna be honest. I think Jon Snow just looks... It's weird. I don't know what the showrunners are going for with Jon Snow. It's like they're always trying to make him look too good, and then he ends up looking like a
little boy,
like a doofus.
Yeah.
He looks like a hipster with a top knot, and Arya looks like he's trying to cosplay him.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Arya really looks like she's trying to cosplay Ned.
Yeah.
All that. She's like, that is Ned's daughter.
To be fair, I also feel like Jon is trying to cosplay Ned.
They all just wish they were Ned.
Yeah, it's like anime adaptation, Netflix adaptation.
Yeah.
Thing going on.
Arya's the anime adaptation.
Whatever.
Very good, Michael.
But anyway, I think the big talking point from last night is Daenerys, right? She flipped her wig. She flipped the lid.
Actually, she dyed her hair for this last season, I think.
Oh, did she? I thought she wore...
Pretty sure.
Oh, no, Lena Headey's the one that wears a wig.
Did she? Oh, well, doesn't matter. She flipped her
Joke,
lid.
I didn't know we were going to linger on that so long.
She flipped her lid and started killing innocent people because she's angry.
Oh, yeah, spoilers.
This is a spoiler
I know.
podcast.
It's fine.
And that, I don't know how much any of you guys care about Daenerys. I think that was a strange moment because for a lot of people, that moment I know that was crushing because a lot of people were on board with Daenerys. Daenerys was their gal for years. They were like, oh, Daenerys is the hero and I'm behind Daenerys. All of her detractors are going to be proven wrong. And then there's a lot of people who just fucking don't like Daenerys at all and have been waiting for this to happen for years.
Daenerys has never been a character I particularly liked. She was just kind of always there, but she was fine. But this isn't. I didn't want this. I didn't want her to be the Mad Queen. I feel like
Not like this.
not like this. Well, that's the thing. This, it felt like the Battle of Winterfell again. The stuff with Arya. It's people online are oh, they set it up though. The people who are in favor of this, it's oh, but you can't it's oh, all your Snoke theories. Yeah, they set it up. It's not well. They rushed it. They had 2 seasons of bullshit, and then like it's like they could have foregone so much the last 2 seasons, and like if they really wanted to do this with Arya and this with Daenerys, they should have
particularly this with Daenerys.
Yes, this is the more important,
I think needed to be more like we just needed more clues that she was going to do something like this. And also I just think that it's ridiculous because it wasn't an accident. They were like, well, we're going to make it so that it's completely avoidable, and then she does it anyway. And it's like, well, that's weird. Isn't the horror of war that like it's hard to avoid, and like we're put into situations where there are no good options, and then but like with this, like, you know, there was like the option of just like stopping and you won, but then she's like, no, I'm gonna do more, and it's like, oh, that's just insanity. So that's not interesting.
Well, because to me, like, the way I look at it is they probably went with what they did because you had really only two other options. Like, the bells rung, and then they, like, put Cersei on trial or some bullshit.
Well, I saw a Reddit post, and this, I didn't even think about this, but it was like, easy fix. Rhaegal her other dragon should have died in this episode. What if they ring the bells, everything seems fine, then Euron, because he's a fucking asshole, just shoots her other dragon, kills it, and then she starts blowing shit up because it's like, well, they're not surrendering, so I'm gonna do that. But you know, they didn't,
because that would have made it more like fresh. Whereas like it was like, oh, like the time skips kind of messed things up. So you're like, oh, we don't know how long she's been sitting with this, but it's like, because like to me it's like, oh, it seems like she was sitting with it for a while. Like she could have been stewing, but like also could have got a more perspective on it and shouldn't have like just snapped like that.
Yeah,
like it just all felt very sudden.
Dan, Kyle, you guys have been quiet.
Well, you know, I understand how people feel betrayed by this, and it could have been a fucking great story if it was, you know, written better and built up to, but I don't hate it. I mean, honestly, like, this show, as good as it used to be, it did still have, like, blatant villains, and, like, you know, at the beginning of the show, you were always, like, caught up in, like, oh, I like this house and that house, but fuck this house, and it's really interesting, and sometimes there's an entire house that's shit, but there's, like, one cool guy there. Now, like, I mean, Game of Thrones is just schlock at this point. It is.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, oh, well, we do technically have... it's just disappointing that they've painted it up as, like, Jon is the hero who can do no wrong because he's simple. And Daenerys is crazy now because she's sad. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, you have a villain that you like and understand. It was super powerful and it seems like insurmountable odds. And I'm like, schlocky, but it's entertaining. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
There's one episode left. Fuck it.
Yeah. I just obvious, like, again, that's not a bad story. Just, it needed to be, like, developed a little, like, there needs to be, like, a kind of an intermediate step between this, like, oh, maybe she does something almost like this, and then she does this. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Sorry, Dan, you go ahead.
No, this is just like, I don't know if we said this on air with like the first episode we did or if it was off recording, but this is actually really fucking funny because all I can think of was how like we were talking about how Gurm was like, there needs to be at least like 2 more seasons to this shit to make sense. We're like, what is that fat fuck thinking? Oh my god, this shit's going nowhere.
I was thinking that earlier today.
Like, I've been laughing about that since last night when we saw this episode because now it's just like, oh, nothing makes sense. It's all so fast and forced.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an asshole and just come out and fucking say it. I liked what happened. Like, this is the only interesting that's happened these last 2 seasons. Yeah, it's rushed and it doesn't make a lot of sense in context. It's not justified for how they built it up in terms of like Game of Thrones' universe as a whole, but giving the fucking hackneyed writing we've gotten these last 3 seasons, this is actually pretty on point with what they've been doing. So I have no problem with that because I feel like I'm watching this more like Kyle now, where it's just like, this isn't the show that I like fell in love with and started watching. This is just dumb schlock, and honestly, I'm not even going to bring that up, but like, yeah, it surprised me, and it's like, yeah, Daenerys has been kind of annoying for a while to me. Like, I liked her the first 3 seasons, and then she kind of just had this like, to an extent, this like plot armor where like nothing really threatened her to any extent. Like, she had her arcs, she had her trials and tribulations to overcome, but it always just kind of felt frustrating that she never had to sacrifice on the same level that like other characters had towards the start of the series. And now that they're like finally stripping that away, like I just never expect them to go fully into it in this way, just especially because like this is kind of a betrayal to half, if not more, of the majority of the fan base that loves the character. It means so much to them, to so many of those people, and they do. They're going to upset a lot of people, but they did it anyways, and fuck it, I'm having fun watching that.
I got to admit, like, don't get me wrong, Yaz and I've talked about this so much, where it's like I would love to see like the story where it's like, oh, imagine if you watched the prequels and you actually liked Anakin. Don't start, Michael. Or like you didn't know that he was going to turn evil, or if you got like the Harvey Dent story and you didn't know he was going to turn evil, and it was like there's a way where you could write Daenerys turning into the villain and it being like the most awesome thing in the world. We didn't get that, but we did get something surprising and bold, and it was fun. And I'm like, yeah, I totally like what Dan said.
Yeah, I mean that's like why I said where I'm at, where I can't say I don't like, because I like action schlock, like. So I can't say I didn't like this episode, and I can't say I didn't like what they're doing. But it's like like part of me just wishes it was like more. It was more. There's like so much potential there.
You know, I don't disagree. Like I'm not one. Like I've always liked Daenerys, but
same.
I'm not one of the people that has wanted her to win at the end. The problem with this is that like is she even a villain, or is she just mentally ill? You know what I mean? Like that's the problem. It's like
I think that's a little harsh,
like
saying she's mentally ill.
Kind of. Like at this point, like it's such a turn that like, okay, so like Walter White, that was cool because like all of his descents into villainy had like a sort of rationale to them. So you're watching it and you're like, I get it. And then you'd slowly see like this side of him where you know, like Breaking Bad is like brilliant, and then it gets you to cheer for the guy and then cheer against the guy within the same episode. With this, like I just feel like D&D don't have they're just like looking to be like, well, we're gonna make you just everyone cheer, and now like you're never gonna cheer for her again, like. No, or maybe they'll
especially with how brutal they put everything on the ground, and
maybe they'll turn it around, but I don't think they will. Like I feel like their idea was like, oh well, we need to turn it into the villain, give like I'm guessing John someone to like be his final villain, and it's like, well, we needed to make it as like unambiguous as possible, and that's why I don't like it. Like it's like I'd like to see something a little bit more ambiguous. Given, I do agree that, like, yeah, there's something very brave about taking a character and making everyone like them and then turning them into a villain. It needs to feel organic. Like, I don't feel betrayed. I just feel like...
Yeah, no, I mean, I have no argument with what you're saying. Yeah. I agree, but for me, like, Game of Thrones has been over for years. Now I'm just watching it die. So, I'm like...
So, I guess while we're... You know, it's like, there are two ways to take this discussion. Do we talk about why has Game of Thrones been over for years, or do we say some more things about the episode?
We can do both.
Yeah, I mean,
right, but like,
how much do you think we've exhausted how it's been over for years?
Yeah,
I feel like we have.
Yeah,
that's a recurring motif for this entire season, and I mean,
yeah,
that's how we felt for at least the last since season 5, basically.
Yeah. But I do think I agree, but I do think there's something to add to it in light of this episode.
Yeah,
and it's that I do feel like Benioff and Weiss have sort of just. I think they got like the Red Wedding was sort of like their like drug, and they got like addicted to that drug, and so now they're trying to like just do a bunch of that. Like, well, let's have like a big shocking twist, and it's like I love twists. I just love twists when they're set up, and so like watching this, we look at like the last 2 seasons that have been like really really subpar, and it's like. Well, the reason those last 2 seasons were subpar is that they had these like really morally clear-cut situations. Like everyone, there's like these clear-cut villain. I mean, it's always had villain, like evil people, but like the last 2 seasons have just like kind of been like really played out and really like, well, the good guys are going to do the good thing and the villains are going to do the bad thing. And it's like, well, those last 2 seasons could have been spent. Do you guys know what I mean? They could have been spent like building up stuff like this and like, doing something more
that's what I was saying
complex.
Earlier. It's just like they need.
Yeah, it's harder to write though.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
They have a lot of like time if they wanted to set up what they're doing and make it satisfying. And that's, I think, the frustrating thing is because they had the opportunity after they passed the books, like, oh, like, we have a vision.
Yeah, it's like, you know where you're going, like, get there. Like,
Yeah.
they decide, like, oh, we're just gonna putter around doing, like, fan servicey shit, like...
Yeah, so that people don't get bored, so they get those ratings spiked up.
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, they spent the last 2 years making Game of Thrones as for everyone as possible, and then in this season, they came back and they're like, actually, no, remember, this is the show where bad things happen. It's like, yeah, but then why were you... Again, I'm glad that it didn't... Like, again, my fear going into this season was that the first 4 seasons were a red herring. And that this is really just the story that it starts off bad, but then everything you want happens. So I'm glad it's not that.
Yeah.
But I'm also annoyed that they spent the last 2 seasons, like, pretending that it was that.
Well, and what frustrated me with this episode was that it kind of... I mean, there's only one episode left. It's like... Yes, it's the show where, like, you don't get what you want, and, like, characters that you like will die, or, like, that's fine if there's a reason behind it, but it seems like ever since they passed the books, like, characters, like, they don't know what to do with, like, Rickon, or Bran, like, they're just kind of there, or, like, used to just, like, hey, remember Rickon? Oh, he's dead now, like, just to kind of move things along, like, it's, like, Euron was a big dud, like... He was just there to be, like, the asshole a couple scenes, and then, like, his ending wasn't satisfying, and, like, that's, again, the reason I like shows, like, oh, you had characters that died in unsatisfying ways, like they weren't, like, what you'd want for that character, but, like,
I think
there's a
he
difference.
got a pretty solid, like, memorable death sequence. He could have just blown up on one of the fucking boats.
I know.
That would have been fine. I wouldn't have to hear him, like, run his idiot mouth.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's like the one scene I think I dislike more than anything else in this past episode was that, because it just like devolves into like a fucking stupid like Sylvester Stallone action fight scene where you're just like...
Just cuz.
I thought you guys wanted schlock.
Yeah.
We want schlock, but we don't want Euron. Euron fucking sucks.
Where he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you now, and I fucked the queen. Remember I said that? Never seen a man. And I'm like, God, just die already.
Yeah, and it's like, what? I was like, why is he fighting Jaime? Like, I get that, like, he wants to keep fucking the queen, I guess.
It's like the bad schlock that reminds me of all the worst parts of the previous episodes, how everything has to be, like, a big name, like, character confrontation or something.
Yeah.
Like, even this is stupid and nitpicky, but, like, an example of that is when, like, they're storming the city, and it's fucking Jon, Davos, and Grey Worm at the front of, like, the army just running in together. I'm like... Fuck off. No, don't do it that way. That's retarded. You're just doing that because it looks cool and they're known characters.
Especially,
cool.
Yeah, it's like, what's Davos? I know, I literally watched the episode like,
It
why
always
Davos?
says, I'm a horrible fighter and I got no fingers. And then, like, he's right
exactly.
up front.
And he's just up there because people recognize him and be like, yeah, and sheer, like, fucking retards. And then it's the same thing with the whole Euron confrontation. Like, he literally just pops out of the water at the most goddamn convenient time after Jaime runs around like a goddamn idiot the whole episode. Even because somehow he doesn't know how to get into the fucking castle after everything that's happened. And it just happens to be the same time. So now we have to have a stupid, like, slapdash action scene.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he try to get into the castle that way the first time?
I don't fucking
Instead
know.
of going through the crowd. No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of this matters.
I have a weird...
Because it's contrived.
Weirdly, I understand everything I'm saying. I've never had a problem with show Euron. I mean, I did the first season he was in, but, like, I just weirdly, I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
Because to me,
This
like,
guy
Euron was,
is fine.
like, the progression to me. Like, the way I've always seen the show, you had Joffrey at first, and that turned into Ramsay, and then it was like, oh, now we have Euron.
Kind of like how Frieza has all these different forms.
Yeah.
I was just going to
come back to Dragon Ball. No.
So, okay, Euron...
But Euron, like, didn't progress that.
For me, the weird schlock was, like... The schlock that was the weirdest was Clegane Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. That was good schlock.
I don't know. Clegane Bowl used to be Yezin and I's Wi-Fi password.
It's still my Wi-Fi password.
Oh, good to let all your listeners know. I mean,
Not
like,
my password, it's my Wi-Fi name.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. Point is, I was looking so forward to Clegane Bowl for years, and then it's like, oh, it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, it's so stupid. It was funny, but it was God.
It literally looked and felt like the Obi-Wan Anakin fight in Episode 3. That's what it felt like, and visually looked like.
Oh, I just thought it was just like a weird, brutal.
Like,
I don't know. Like the one thing, I mean, a lot of this doesn't matter at this point. But like, I thought the moment where Cersei commands him not to fight the Hound, and then he's like, looks back and he's like, "No, the hype is real."
Yeah, you were like, "What's going on?"
Like that was weird. Like the Mountain doesn't care about the Hound. The Hound cares about the Mountain. Why is this happening?
Yeah, you don't get the impression that the Mountain cared when he was alive, and then for years now I thought, oh, he's just a Frankenstein, and he doesn't have feelings about anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, killing his brother is the most important thing in the world. And he looks like a big, giant, dead baby. It's just the dumbest fight.
Yeah.
Like, the sky is on fire, and, like, rocks are falling everywhere, and nobody cares. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody in the world. Like, don't get me wrong. We could always talk about, like, how the show used to be better. Where it's like, with Clegane Bowl, I was like, I just want a real sweet fight, you know? But then I also think, what's the point if, like, you know, Brienne versus the Hound, that was an awesome fight. The Mountain and the Viper, that was an awesome fight. But not only were these things cool, but it was like, that was like the only thing going on in that moment, and there were like things at stake. So for the longest time, like, once you realize, oh, this is fan service, the show, you're like, yeah, there's no way that they're not doing Clegane Bowl. Out of all the dumb shit that they've given us, they can at least give us that dumb shit. But I thought that there was going to be like a reason for it, because like, Beric Dondarrion is like, oh, the Lord of Light keeps bringing you back for some reason, Hound. And everyone's like, oh, it's for Clegane Bowl. There's going to be a reason for Clegane Bowl. And then the Hound is just like, yeah, I could stay in the north and maybe be happy, but I'm going to go kill my brother. And then,
you know, I'm okay with that. Like,
that idea in and of itself is fine. But then it's like, it's so late in the episode where like so much shit is happening. I'm like, man, even I don't really care about this anymore.
Yeah.
And then it's like a really dumb fight.
And I feel like there could have been like an interesting, I don't know, just something interesting with if they made like his older brother like a Frankenstein monster who didn't give a shit. Like this is all like one side, like I need to kill you, and it's like he just doesn't care. Like that has something interesting to say where it's like now it turns into schlock.
On the bright side, I think that the scene between the Hound and Arya,
that was a good scene.
That was
nice.
That was really good.
Yeah,
that was one of the highlights of the episode.
Yeah, that was sweet. You know, weirdly, I liked John in this episode for a minute.
You mean the minute he was in the episode?
Yeah. That's the whole other can of worms I want to get
When
into.
you start thinking of Jon Snow as like a little boy, it's just forced to do everything, I'm like, this is way more acceptable. Where it's like, if you just believe, he has no concept of the world around him.
It's like if I were in Game of Thrones.
But he just knows, I want to be a knight and a hero, so I'll do this. And he's like, wait, we're killing people? Oh no. Whoops. And then you're like, oh, this is fine, because you don't know no better. But when you think of him as an adult man, you're like, God, you're dumb.
Yeah,
You're so dumb.
Well, like, no, I mean, he has the Ned Stark, like, sense of right and wrong.
Yeah,
I mean,
but with crybaby face.
Yeah, it's great. He's the little emo Ned Stark. It's great.
I think that it's kind of annoying that, again, I keep jumping between, like, judging this as schlock and judging this as, like,
what you want it to be.
What I want it to be. Like, for me, like, I'm really just annoyed by the fact that, like, so, like, last week after last week's episode, like, okay, Daenerys is definitely, even after they killed the White Walkers, I'm like, the fact that they did this means there's definitely going to be some, like, what happens down in King's Landing is going to be fucked up. And then after last week, it's like, yeah, there's definitely going to be some problems between Jon and Daenerys. But, like, I thought they would be, like, two-sided. Like, it just sucks that, like, yeah, Jon has, like, really no response. He's a big dud out there. He has no responsibility for anything that happens around him.
Jon and Davos become the only not evil people with swords in the entire city.
Yeah.
Even Grey Worm turns into a fucking psychopath asshole who's like, oh no, they're not surrendering. And then you're like, okay, fine, whatever.
Especially after like all the talk of Jon being like this great, wonderful leader that like inspires the people and they look up to, and it's like you just see him with like no actual control over his army or ability to do anything. You're just like, oh. Well.
Every now and then he goes, "Guys, quit it." Yeah, but that's it. Like,
no, don't rape that woman. That's bad.
And he's like, oh, they're gonna do it anyway. I don't know.
No, my favorite. Your pantomime of I'm gonna rape you now.
Well, that's great out of context. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. But yeah, so like definitely, John is just kind of like he's like vaguely likable, but he's just kind of a big dud out there, and I feel like it's because now he has to stand up to Daenerys, right? But they wanted to do it in a way where like he is good, and the tragedy is that he loves her, but like he's got to do the right thing. But I'm like, wouldn't it be more interesting if he had some kind of fault in all of this? Instead, it's just like, well, he just wanted to stop the Night King, and now that's happening. He just kind of like along for the ride.
Yeah, he could have kept his mouth shut.
Yeah, so his only fault is, well, my dad says lying is wrong, so I won't do it. Yeah. And then, well, you killed the kingdom, John. Whoops.
But like, even keeping, I thought that was gonna have more of an effect on what happened.
Yeah,
like him telling Sansa and Arya, like. That actually had nothing to do with... I mean, it might have vaguely, but, like, you can't say, oh, it's Daenerys... If Jon hadn't told Sansa, Daenerys wouldn't have killed all those people. Like, no, they're not related. These are unrelated things. Like, these people... Like, Daenerys is mad at these people for not rising up and overthrowing Cersei, which is, like, an illogical argument because, like, yeah, the people in Meereen, they overthrew the Masters because you were like, hey, you know how you're slaves... Help me out. I'll make you not slaves anymore. But with Daenerys, it's like, oh, hey, you know how, like, you don't like the queen? Me, though. Me now. I'll be the queen.
Me also.
You'll like me better. And they're like, oh, we don't know you. I don't want to really go into our revolt over this. You're traitors. You're dead now. It's like
they'll kill our whole family if, like, you lose. If this is too bad.
Tyrion is the only one speaking logic.
And like, he looks really sad about it.
Yeah, I was like, he's just wandering through the streets like during like the battle. I'm just like, don't you need shouldn't you have like an armed guard with you or
honestly like,
something?
People act like Tyrion. You know, people act like Jon is the hero. Tyrion is the hero.
Yeah,
like
he was doing his best.
Jon is just like along for the ride. Like she's our queen. I like, and obviously they're like setting this up so that like Jon will. Like turn on her and it'll be like, oh, big twist. But like the fact that Jon's just been sitting around like she's our queen. I have no agency in any of this. Just makes him a big dud. Like he's
well, honestly, sucks. The best now that I think about it, the best scene in the whole episode was probably when Tyrion was talking to Jaime and he's like, oh, what's one dwarf for like a whole city? I was like, that like really like that was a nice nice.
Tyrion's great. Tyrion, it's weird. Like book Tyrion is like a really morally great character. Show Tyrion is just like the nicest guy
he's
ever.
Trying his darndest.
He's a far cry from wanting to poison everyone in King's Landing because they put him on trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be metal.
I mean, I still like Tyrion.
Yeah, I do.
I think he's kind of more well written than Jon and Daenerys right now.
Oh, definitely.
Well, that's the thing that kind of frustrates me. And like, why? Like, this is the second to last episode, and you barely see Jon, and it's like. The scenes that him and Daenerys had together, like the last like 3 episodes, are few and far between. Like, really doesn't build up to me this like this conflict that might be coming.
I'm sure he'll get.
Who knows? Maybe there'll be another twist, and Jon's evil now too.
How fun would that be?
Like it's just the Dark Empire is the way Game of Thrones.
The Night King worked into Jon when he was originally stabbed to death, and he's just been biding his time with a split consciousness. How fun would that be? Like a dark ending where Jon's just like, no, I'm
bad now too. Like
evil king, evil queen now.
I'll take it at this point. I'll take it. Like
I don't think he'd be evil so much as he'd be like, well, rules are rules.
Yeah. Jaime and Cersei.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a wet fart.
Oh man. Yeah.
That was bad.
Again. Like
you didn't like it?
All the things they did with the character, everything they built up, and like his whole journey. Like I have no problem with like Jaime just being like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go back to her because it's still Cersei." Like, kind of like reinforces that he's not a good guy. That whole aspect, despite all the characterization and like growth he's had, he's still tied to that. But just the whole confrontation and them just going underground and getting buried by rubble, it just seems so anticlimactic to me.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on it. Like, I liked the moment when they were first reunited. And I was like, this is nice, this is fine. But, yeah, pretty much once they just fail to escape and Jaime cements himself as one of the dumbest people on the show who gets captured every 11 minutes or lost or trapped, you're like, okay, fine. And, I mean, Cersei looks dumb, too. Like, I mean, I felt real bad for her. I've always been a big Cersei fan. But, like, I don't know. I thought she was going to go out a little
There
more
wasn't even the
badass.
threat of her, like, blowing up the city with Dragonfire. She had literally nothing. And it's like, I get it. All her plans are crumbling. You know, she's up against the wall. But I wish they would have at least given her, like, something.
Yeah, at least, like, I mean, granted they went with the let's try to make her death, like, sympathetic route. And, you know, I did want to hug her a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, you're just dumb. Like, you just thought this was going to go better.
Well, to be fair...
Well,
to be fair, given what happened last week, there was pretty... It wasn't unbelievable. Like, they got one of the dragons. Like, it's not unbelievable they could get the other.
But now she looks like the dumbest idiot in the world for not killing everyone immediately at the end of the last episode when she could have.
Sure, that's... stuff like that... if we start getting into stuff like that...
Sure, yeah. I mean, if we start talking about how one dragon can blow up an entire fleet... this episode, but it couldn't the last one, then our heads will explode. So let's not think about it too much.
Yeah.
Time travel in a game. It's fucking stupid.
I do want to get... for me, like, I'm also torn about the Cersei stuff.
You love Cersei.
Not so much the Jaime stuff. I think that I like this... Like, everyone was like, Jaime's gonna kill Cersei. I like this so much better than Jaime killing Cersei.
Yeah.
I think Jaime killing Cersei would have, like, ruined the character. But I actually think that this is the truest, like, realist way for Jaime to go. And I just released a video about that on YouTube. So, but anyway, but for me, it's more that with Cersei, like, on one hand, I get the idea of, like, making her sympathetic in the end to show that, like, well, even Cersei had some good in her, and let's show that, like, at the end that, like, this isn't... Like, the idea that you take this character that was, like, evil for years and, like, everyone wanted her dead so bad and then make her death not feel satisfying. Like, not give us, like, satisfaction or happiness in her death. I get it. Not bad.
Not bad.
But at the same time, it's weird that they're like, all right, well, now... Because now Daenerys is the evil. It's like... You could make them both sympathetic, or you could make neither of them sympathetic, or you can... Yeah, I don't know. It's like a weird...
Again, it's bold, I respect it, but it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, it doesn't make anyone happy, where it's like, if you, like, hate Cersei, and you're like, oh, I can't wait for that bitch to get it. You're just like, what the fuck was that shit? And then if you love Cersei, and you're like, she's got something up her sleeve, or even if she doesn't, like, she's not going to give them an inch.
Yeah.
If they fucking kill her, she's just going to be like, yeah, fucking do it, I don't care. And then, like,
Well, it's like...
I don't think it's supposed to make anyone happy.
Well, it's fine.
It's a nice, like... That's the thing, like... They honestly went with... Dan said it the best, the wet fart route. Because, like...
It felt like they were just tying up a loose end.
Like, yeah, like, they could have went... To me, like, there could have been two satisfying routes. They could have went, like, the Joffrey route, where it's like, you get the satisfying, like, yeah, kill that fucker. And or, like, you get, like, the... You could go the Robb Stark route, and, like, a shocking, like unsatisfying, like, oh, I wanted, like, better for this character.
No one
Jaime stabs Cersei in the gut.
No one. Not that no one wanted better for Cersei. Maybe you, yes, and I don't know. You love it.
I do love Cersei,
but not exactly the Robb Stark, but like something that would have been like unsatisfying to the people that wanted blood. But, like, not this. Like, this was just kind of... It was too, like, Hallmarky, almost.
I think Dan really nailed it. Like, you know, it doesn't matter if they're not trying to make anyone happy. I respect that. But I kind of agree with Dan. It feels more like... Now they're just cutting up this, like, loose end. Where they're just like, oh, yeah, well, Cersei's done.
Yeah. Well, that's what...
Cersei and Jaime, they're dead now. And then you're like, okay.
A lot of this episode, like, just like Euron, just like a lot of the characters, the last two episodes, like, oh, loose ends. Like, what isn't a loose end?
Stretch to call Euron a character.
Yeah,
I
know.
You know, Cersei's been around since season 1.
Yeah.
Okay?
But,
I don't know. I don't think it was... I thought it was fine. I think that there's sort of a sense that you could have given her, like, the... like, raging against, like sort of the rage ending where she, like, now I'm going to blow up King's Landing. I have the wildfire rig and I'm going to do it. But ultimately, like, because I thought that's where they're going. Like, Cersei is like suicidal Cersei who's trying to get Daenerys to do all this stuff, but they didn't go that route, and that's ultimately fine. I just wish that. Again, I just wish that they knew how to make more than one, like, a two-sided conflict where you're sympathetic to both sides. Like, last year, or season 7, one of the few good moments of season 7 was the Spoils of War, where Daenerys was torching all the Lannister soldiers. And in that moment, it's like, you feel bad for the Lannister soldiers, even though you know that, like, Daenerys is, like, you feel like, well, Daenerys is the good guy, though. Like, they're fighting for Cersei, and she's, like, a piece of shit. But I didn't want that again. Like, this time it was just, like, a weird... They just, like, kind of flipped it. I would have rather felt sympathetic for both sides than to just only feel sympathetic for Cersei in that moment, which is, like, kind of what they were trying to make me do, which is weird. Like, I guess... I don't know. Again, I keep holding the show to a higher standard than it should, but I want them to stop telling me how to feel in scenes, because I feel like that's what's happening. It's like, all right, well, now you hate Daenerys, you feel sorry for Cersei. Now you feel sorry for Arya, you're rooting for Jon. Like, give me a situation, let me decide, vaguely at least, like, who I... You know what I mean? Like when Stannis burned Mance, and we were like, I see it, but I like Mance, but I see Jon's like something a little bit more nuanced than, like, you start the episode like, oh, you're rooting for Daenerys because they killed Missandei. Actually, never mind. Now you're rooting for Cersei because Daenerys is crazy.
Well, to be fair, though, I mean, something like the Stannis and Mance Raider thing, those characters were both kind of small enough and morally gray enough, and your perspective's changing on them enough that you could have a scene like that. To be fair, the show has never been not trying to get you to side with Jon or Arya, and they've never been trying to get you to side with Cersei. So it's not...
No, but there have been a lot of moments where you're, like, sort of meant to sympathize with her.
Sure.
They made her a character. They didn't make her one-dimensional fucking Euron. Yeah.
An evil person, but a person.
Right. But I just feel like, again, what I'm saying is that, like, in that scene, like, they decided, you're done sympathizing with Daenerys, now you sympathize with Cersei.
I didn't get that you were supposed to sympathize with Cersei at all.
Same.
Yeah, if anything, it was just like she's getting what she deserves.
Yeah. See, I did sympathize with Cersei, but that's because I really like Cersei, but I don't know.
I thought we were supposed to. Yeah. I felt like we were supposed to.
When you pointed out that way, like, I can see how you could read that, but I agree with Cam. I was just like, oh, she's getting her comeuppance.
I don't know, but when you see, like, Jaime, who's been, like, pretty much the hero of the ultimate hero of the episode, like, he rang the bell almost, and if that had gone correctly, like, that would have saved the city. He rang the bell, it didn't work, he went back to Cersei, he didn't do anything evil, he just went back to her and, like, and then died with her, like, that, and then he's running up to her and she's crying and they're, like, just trying to make it out to, like, escape and just be alive, and that's it. Like, that, to me, I was like, all right, now you kind of feel bad for these two people. Like, you're not... The point where you're rooting for someone to get Cersei at that point is over. You know what I mean? Like, when the rubble falls on her, like, you don't care. I wasn't, like, watching that scene like, oh, can't wait for that rubble to get her. Yeah, I got her. It's like, no, it's like, she's done. She's beaten.
Yeah, well, that's what, I mean, yeah, that's what you got. Like, it was very underwhelming. It was like, oh, she's done, she's beaten, whatever. Let's get on to the next. Like, I really didn't care. Like,
I felt bad for how she was written. I didn't feel bad for her.
Yeah.
Like, that's about it for that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Cersei's always so well written, though.
Not in this episode.
Not scene.
I mean, it's a bummer that she didn't have more up her sleeve.
I would say this is the first season that Cersei hasn't been one of the best written characters on this show.
True.
It's really hard to go from, like, standing and smirking while beheading Missandei to, but don't you feel bad for her? Or I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of this episode just feels like a betrayal, or like what came before it this season and part of last season was just misdirection, because, like, it just walked back all this fucking shit that they tried, like, so hard to set up, like, oh, Cersei's gonna use the people as a shield and then blow up, like, the suggestion she was going to blow him up with dragonfire, and it's like, now she don't got shit up her sleeve. Oh, the scorpions are going to be able to take out the dragons, and now there's this huge threat with the Golden Company. It's immediately just like, no, the dragon is basically just like a weapon of mass destruction at this point, and there's zero like that they can do, or even hope to do at this point.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the show, to me, just feels like them trying to get ahead of, like, all the people on YouTube making their theories. Like, it's like, oh, like, everyone has already said every ending. Even, like, before YouTube existed, when the books came out. People have been theorizing how this is going to end.
You're saying Yezin has ruined Game of Thrones.
Yes, it's your fault,
Where
Yezin.
now D&D are like, fuck this kid. We're just going to burn it all down.
The one thing I thought was fucking hilarious was on, like, the after the episode or inside the episode at the end where, like, D&D were talking about it. It's like, in like 1,000 other timelines, this would have gone completely different, but in this one way, because things were set up like just exactly like this. I'm just like, imagine like incel Doctor Strange going through and doing everything he can to make Daenerys evil.
Incel Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Fuck your SJW agenda. I'm going to make the woman be the evil big bad of this episode.
Because Doctor Strange went through all those different scenarios in Infinity War.
I don't get the incel part.
He hates women.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, now I get it. Sorry.
The problem with like YouTube like theorists is they overthink everything, and then they can't see the forest for the trees. You didn't get that joke.
I'm sorry.
You've been wrong.
Yeah.
No, but okay, I agree. Like it did feel like they were trying. It's too much misdirection. Like they're trying. It felt like they were setting up like, oh yeah, Cersei's going to use the people as a human shield, but it's like at that point it didn't really feel like. Again, that's another thing that is probably more annoying about the Cersei death is that like she set up this thing where she's using the people as a human shield, but then
not a very good shield.
It didn't seem like she cared that Daenerys was going for it.
Yeah.
Like I kept watching her. It's like now she smirks.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for Cersei to smirk and be like, "This is according to my plan."
Same.
Yeah.
And then it never came. It's like
that
no.
was her plan.
Yeah, I kept expecting like when Daenerys was about to stop, like when the surrender bells were going, and then it seemed like Daenerys was going to stop, and then she kept going. I thought Cersei was going to smirk, like, "Yes, this is what I wanted," but instead it's like, no,
she's in denial the whole time. She's like, oh, well, maybe if we can shoot it once pretty good, then it'll be dead, and then we'll be fine.
Oh god, those lines were so pathetic,
Yeah.
and not just like for the character, just for like how it was delivered. It was just like, oh god damn it.
Yeah.
like Tahiti does no wrong. But
No, not to say that she was bad, and it was just pathetic that she had to say it in that
you're
way,
right.
in the way it was done.
Qyburn
Oh, that was metal as fuck. Like,
Qyburn got bonked on the head.
yeah.
Old men's skull's fragile, I guess.
Yeah, I did like that.
That was
It
fucking sweet.
Cracked like an egg.
Yeah, it was like very, just like barely even touched.
I guess that's one thing that I can really like commend this episode for was there was a lot of fun gore.
Yeah.
There's
And it's
it was
like
brutal.
It was dumb, horrible schlock, but I still had some fun with Clip
Yeah.
Game Boy. You know, it was fun watching.
Some of it was fun.
yeah, some of it
Well,
was.
honestly, I think the whole episode was very well made.
I think
Most of the
For the
episode
most part.
I think
Yeah.
like there was a lot of Clegane Bowl that I don't think was so
No.
great. But a lot of the chaos was.
Yeah.
I feel like he didn't need to lose all of his armor. That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
No.
It's
was
like
fun.
well, we've got the strongest man in the world. We're gonna show that he's got muscles. And like,
Do you remember the big fat baby ghost from the movie 13 Ghosts? Does
No.
anybody
No.
Someone out there will get that. That's exactly what he looked like, and it was horribly
what about
distracting.
Casper's fat uncle?
Michael, you're a simple boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. No, I will agree that like this had some great shots and some great filmmaking. And although one thing that really annoyed the shit out of me, maybe I missed it and they established it earlier. It's just like they kind of just throw away the sense of like how the battle is going in it. There's the point where I think Qyburn or Cersei's like, oh, they've breached the Red Gate. And it's like, haven't they like made it such a huge deal how the gate's unbreachable and like now the Unsullied are just storming the castle, but Daenerys is also burning it down at the same time. It's just kind of like now this is just like a clusterfuck because they don't want to take time to show it or establish it because they're focusing on all this other different shit at the same time.
It's just pandemonium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the whole time, like Daenerys is so mad she's burning all these people. It's like, at what point do you know like where your troops are? Like,
There was one
She's
part
like,
in the
"You're
episode where I
everybody."
just flat out laughed, where there were like some people in the foreground staring, looking up at this dragon. It's just like breathing fire, and then a bunch of shit starts falling. And then once stuff starts falling near them, then they decided to run. I'm like, You guys are dumb. We're
Like
we
all
want to see the old shit.
all this episode needed was the Green Goblin when he threw the balls and everyone turned into skeletons.
I think they originally put that in and had to get cut out for time constraints.
I will say I actually enjoyed the pandemonium. I think the idea of like depicting like what it's like when a city gets sacked. That's something the show hasn't done. They had to do it. I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I wish things had been different, but I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
A lot of it was great.
Let's talk. I mean, before we close out, like Arya, anything like?
I liked her this episode.
I liked her this episode.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
I'm glad that she finally listened to someone that was telling her something intelligent. Like the whole conversation we had with like her and the Hound, like that finally like sunk in, and she was able to like see past her rage and like realize and like rationalize the situation. Like my vengeance isn't worth it just for the sake of saying I'm the one that stabbed her to die because of it. I really like that moment a lot, actually.
Same. I thought that was the high point of the episode.
It was a little frustrating that they chose her as like the POV character to be like running around scared and like terrified in the city as things are coming down. Like, yeah, she's still trying to save and help people, but it kind of feels like something of a walk back, kind of like the Battle of Winterfell, where she goes from like being a killer assassin to being like a terrified little girl in the library again.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, Maisie Williams has those big eyes, and it just works.
I mean, I actually like her as the POV character. Someone mentioned on Reddit that like, oh, I wish it was Davos because with Arya we know she's gonna survive, but with Davos like there's a threat. And I'm like, no, I would know that Davos wasn't gonna die. Also,
See,
I don't know.
I would.
There's something to be said for that.
I there is, but I actually prefer this to be Arya. Battle of Winterfell, I would have preferred less Arya in that battle. Like, I think this was the place. I think the idea of having Arya on a quest for vengeance and then deciding not to take that vengeance and then witnessing all of this, like, pandemonium and chaos and destruction and the plight of the common, that's, like, much better for her story.
And then riding away on that unscathed white horse.
It was pretty scathed, but I actually thought that was a good ending shot, too.
So, like,
it's fine.
I know.
It was too much, but
I keep getting shit for this, for wanting this.
Jesus.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Say it.
I will say it. I will say why I think it should have been this way. So there was a scene with Arya and the Hound, and she finally comes to her senses like revenge isn't worth it. And she's in the center of the city, and she has to leave. And she's in all the pandemonium, and she's about to get trampled. I thought she was going to die. I think that would have been a good death for that character because she finally, like, that poet, like, she realized too late. It's like, yes, like, oh, like, you had this great revelation, like, oh, there's more to life, but no, you realized too fucking late.
I'm sure the female fans would have loved that.
Yes, I know.
I don't know.
But that's that's why I like Game of Thrones. It would have been the fucking.
I don't know if that would have been offensive.
Fuck. Yeah. No, it would have been like another.
I think that in the same episode where they're like, only female leader that hasn't been depicted as like evil and was like a big hero character. Well, Sansa. Sansa's shady.
Best.
I mean, she's great.
Sansa's shady, but she's the best one.
Sure. Shut up. You know the point I'm trying to make. In the episode where they have Daenerys start slaughtering a bunch of people, there was no way that they're going to kill
I know, but I don't think that... I also don't think her gender should protect her from getting killed.
I don't really think that Arya needed to die. I don't know if that would have... Like, I get that she too late thing, but, like, I don't know. I think it's fine.
I get the idea of what you want, like, that sort of, like, super unsatisfactory thing of, like, happening to a character and there, like, being a big reason, just no one expecting it and just being like, fuck, that's a bummer. But this isn't that show anymore.
I know.
And given the context of the rest of the episode, I feel like that would have been like them filming an episode of Sesame Street and there was a school shooting going on in the background.
Yeah, I know. But there was just, like, when she was getting trampled, I just felt like this overwhelming, like, sense of dread and despair that, like, was almost, like, welcome. Because I'm like, I was feeling something watching the show again. I was like, oh no, like, Arya's gonna, and she's not even one of my favorite characters. I'm like, she might die right now. And
I just think that...
that's not the show anymore.
If Arya had died, then what would come next would be too easy.
I guess.
I think. Because I think that, like, if Arya dies, then, like...
Because now it's the faithless man versus the dragon. They both have their fucking MacGuffin machines.
No, I don't think...
Like,
it would be so much easier for Jon to be like, oh no, my little sister.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, if Daenerys' destruction
caused the death
of Arya, then there's just like, all right, it's so much easier for Jon to just be like, Yeah.
No, you see, next episode, they're going to capture Jon and going to execute him, and Daenerys is going to be like, Dracarys, and then Dracarys is going to pull off its mask, and it's going to be Arya.
Damn it, I was going to make that joke. Never mind.
She's going to say, Dracarys this, and then stab Dany in the back.
I still think our idea about having Jaqen show... Cersei hired Jaqen, and then Jaqen and Arya have a fight, and then Jaqen takes off his mask, and he was Arya, and Arya takes off her mask, and she was Jaqen. And then Cersei takes off her mask, and she was Ned. And Jaime's confused.
Yeah. Ned wanted to be king all along. He switched with her a long time ago.
And Jaime's like, how long have... And he's like, long enough.
Yeah.
And they hold hands, and there's a twinkle in his eye, and it's great.
Yikes.
I don't think I've ever missed Robert Baratheon as much as I have in this episode. I'm just like, man, that motherfucker was so right.
Yeah, I love Bobby B.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one episode left, guys.
Yeah. You guys excited?
Fuck it. I am more interested in this than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And how everything else is going. It's dumb schlock, but I wasn't expecting this, so hey, it'll be interesting.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm kind of ready to say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm ready to say goodbye.
I'm ready to just like see how it ends and be like, all right, let's talk about what this was going for. Let's see what it got wrong, what it got right, and then also just like be like, all right, so what does this mean for the books?
See, I got nothing to lose.
We'll never get the book, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Right,
This is the true ending.
I can sort of just like extrapolate book plots.
Yeah.
What if Gurm is just like, oh, no, I don't need to write the books. You guys know how it ends.
That was perfect.
Or like he changes his ending because like this one is received.
He hears what people didn't like about it, and then he's like, actually, in the books, it's going to be Jon that turns evil, and Daenerys is going to be good.
Spot on impression.
Thanks. He's just talking through a hoagie, you know?
Speaking from experience.
Yeah, I know how it goes. I know the plight of a fat man, okay? I'm excited to see what happens next week because I don't care enough to have my feelings hurt in any way.
Yeah,
Got nothing to lose.
I'm excited just because, I like just to see, like, okay, what they're going to do, and then, again, like what they could have done is interesting to me. Like, I'm interested to see, like, once all the cards are
yeah,
on
I
the
like
table.
in the trailers for next week's episode, or trailer for next week's episode, just like had like a real like Daenerys as evil dictator vibe going on,
Like,
and it to me they're just I don't know. Next week I feel like you have to really watch it with like for anyone who hasn't been already with like a real grain of salt.
Is there going to be like the Hux at the Star Killer base?
Oh,
like, speech?
please!
Like,
That speech was the best thing ever.
Like,
Oh my god!
Fingers crossed.
There's just gonna be so much like Daenerys as dictator, like as like authoritarian.
That would be kind of cool to just see her like screaming like General Hux,
Yeah.
with her eyes bulging out in red.
No, she just brings out General Hux,
Yeah.
dressed as he was. He's like,
So this guy wrote a pretty good speech that I think sums up everything I want to say, and then just that bit.
This is the prequel to Star Wars.
Drogon gives the speech with Hux's voice.
This is how the First Order is born.
No, you see, they're gonna bring it all together because King's Landing, all the people are there, and it was in the shape of a wheel. So she knew she had to break the wheel in order to save the kingdom. And Jon's gonna realize this, okay?
Yeah.
Then the throne room, the Iron Throne, it's gonna be split in half. So there's gonna be the fire side with Daenerys, and then the ice side with Jon, and then they're gonna sing. And then it's gonna fucking end, and you'll understand everything.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
It was a song.
Oh, shit.
Whoa, it was a song.
It's deep, dude.
What?
It's deep. It's gonna be great.
WolfPunch.